Hello, family. Thank you for checking out today's weight loss journal entry. Today is January 26th, 2022. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jonathan, and I created this video journal to record my progress as I work towards achieving my goal weight or a healthy weight. If you do find that you enjoy these videos, if you could subscribe to the channel, make sure you like this video, comment down below as well. All those things help out with the channel. If you would like to join in on the discussion, feel free. I go live at 4 p.m. most weekdays. Also, we have a Discord that in the description below, you can find a link to that, where if you want to share a little bit about yourself and kind of let us know how you're doing with your weight loss, that would be a great place to do that. And then finally, we know that along the way, a lot of people have a hard time with finding the right foods or foods that work for them. And so we have shared a Pinterest board that has a lot of our favorite meals that we eat on a whole food plant-based diet. I am going to go ahead and get going today. It is weigh-in Wednesday. So I got things changed up a bit. I hope you guys can hear me okay. So it's weigh-in Wednesday. Just a quick recap here. It is January 26th. My starting weight was 519.8 pounds. I weighed in at 327.4 pounds last week. We are going to go ahead and see how we did today. So 321.4 pounds. That was a 6-pound weight loss from last week. That is awesome. I was able to achieve that through a whole food plant-based diet, and I was on diet all week. Let me get my weight updated here. I should have done that while I was on the other screen here. So 321.4, right? 6 pounds down. That's awesome. That is really what I was hoping for with sticking on the diet this past week. I believe it was kind of through last week that I was fasting. So last week's weigh-in, I was fasted, and then I broke the fast either Thursday night, so a week ago. But to have that additional 6 pounds lost, it's now getting me closer to that 200 pounds again. Like, I've really been stressing about getting to the 200 pounds. I really have technically made it to 200 pounds down. Like, before this challenge, I did way more than 519, but since I started the challenge, that's that's the goal here. And I had lost that before. Wayne's checking in saying awesome. Yes, thanks, Wayne. Carrie saying hello. Hi, Carrie. Yes, 6 pounds this week. It was a great weight loss week. I did those few tweaks to my diet that I talked about doing. I eliminated the waters that had the natural flavors, or the carbonated waters themselves, and then also cut back on the avocado. I did have avocado toast this past week, so I can't say that this weight loss was all because I cut out avocados, but I did quit eating them like 5 days ago. So I am extremely happy with the results of this past week. So if anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, any questions, comments, feel free to ask them down below. I have a few things that I was going to talk about today. Just I guess right off, just because it's tied into the weight, I've really been working towards those 2022 goals. So I'm very excited that I was able to lose weight. I also have been working on the channel a little bit. If you didn't notice, I had changed up the weigh-in screen a little bit. What I hope to do, and then I'm also recording this now separately from just going live. I hope that I can maybe take that video or that section and just kind of cut it up and make maybe a short video with just the weigh-in, and just do kind of a weekly short where it has my weigh-in. But I have to find the time to now go through this video after this point and edit together something. Because I like doing the live weigh-in. I mean, the other thing I could do would be to weigh in the morning, make a video, post it, and then play that video at my live stream. But anyways, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I just was thinking about the stream stuff, and that's one of my goals for 2022 is to create more content. And by doing that, helping me work towards those goals. Since yesterday, my diet really has just been what we had for dinner last night, which was amazing. I don't know the name of it at all. I don't have any. I should have sent a text to Carrie. It was really good. It was pumpkin flavored. I was trying to get the kids to eat it, so I was playing it up like it tasted like pumpkin pie filling. And it did have that hint of pumpkin pie filling taste, but it was not near as sweet, you know. And then there was seeds in it as well. I imagine they were pumpkin seeds that were in it, but it was a great dish. Unfortunately, the recipe that Carrie had used was for 4 to 6 servings, and it was probably closer to 4 servings. So there wasn't a bunch of it. I didn't end up having seconds of it, which is fine because it probably led or helped me lose weight. Carrie says that it is on the Pinterest board. It's called pumpkin and red lentil soup. It was very good. I really like the seeds in it just because it gave it a little bit of texture. Other than that, it was, well, actually, Carrie, the kids didn't give it much of a shot. They just, orange things aren't so appealing for whatever reason, you know? And well, 3 of my 4. So we have 3 kids that we fight between whether or not they're going to eat something. And then we have a 4th kid that would eat shoe leather if you put it down. So, and no, it's great. I, it's funny is I'd probably say she gets her appetite from me, and Carrie says that she gets her appetite from her, and she probably gets it from both of us. But I was kind of the same way, I think, growing up, that I would eat just about anything. I remember going to a friend's house growing up and eating dinner at their house. And I'd have to ask my mom exactly, but I remember that neighbor, that lady, the mother that would cook, saying something along the lines that she always loved having me over to eat because I always raved about her food, or I was always, I always loved everything that she made, and I was not a picky eater, I think is what she was getting at, probably in comparison to her own few kids that wouldn't eat what she was feeding them. Carrie says, yeah, one of our kids is a vegan superstar. Yes, that it's, but she'll also drink 3 glasses of dairy milk if you give her unlimited access to milk too. So, yeah, that's crazy. And kind of leads into more of what I was going to talk about today too, because I have been listening to the book Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. Really like the book. I feel like the last 2 books, so The Truth About Nutrition is a great book from the standpoint of what our medical research has been doing and what the results of all of the research we've done on health has done. And this book so far has um, talked a lot more about what has happened on the consumer end with, you know, the actual what people are buying and what they're eating. And the I was gonna look this up real quick here because there was a guy who they talked about um okay, so thought that it said what it anyways. Yeah, so there's a guy, his name is Howard Moskowitz that they talk about in the book. And he is a market researcher and psychophysicist. Psychophysicist is what it says on the internet. And it's just like studying our buying behavior. Um, and so this book has been spelling out a lot of the things I've been interested in kind of finding out and learning more about. The crazy thing about so many of these stories that he's talking about in this book, I've seen like play out throughout my life. Yesterday, he was talking a lot about Dr. Pepper. And in the early 2000s, Dr. Pepper was having a hard time because they were losing some of their market share to Coke and Pepsi, because Coke and Pepsi started adding more products to their line, like vanilla Coke and flavored sodas. And in order to combat that, Dr. Pepper came out with, in the early 2000s, a cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper. And I can remember when cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper came out. I can remember going to the gas station and buying cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper and drinking it a lot. And it was just crazy how, you know, this story he's telling about what led to the creation of that product. And then I'm sitting here on the other end as that consumer and realizing that, yeah, that was when I was in college in 2003 when that came out. And that's when I started drinking it, and just kind of piecing that together. And then also having a little bit of the background from the future of nutrition and the other books by Colin Campbell that talk about research and what they were coming out with on the research side of things as well. So it's cool to have kind of everything coming together with it. The let me see what I had here. So the other ways that's really kind of crazy to see this story play out. My camera's find me. My camera's not focused. There you go. So other ways that the stories play out, and the author talks a lot here about the history of Howard Moskowitz and kind of his business history, or what he's had influence on. And I'm kind of in the middle of that story, so it is not a complete story, but essentially he talks about that he started off by trying to make MREs more palatable. And what they found over the years is that they have to reformulate the MREs because the new incoming recruits won't like the same things that they might have liked a few years prior. So they're constantly changing the MREs up. And it sounds like that's what he worked on for a while. And then he got into the private sector and started working for a few different companies. And one of the first places that he worked at, and it's funny, like I said, that you've seen these things play out, so you can almost guess what the kind of guess some of what happened here. But in the early or mid 1980s, General Foods had a line of coffee called Maxwell House. And Maxwell House was kind of the undisputed leader in coffee for years. They made over $1 billion in revenue in coffee in the 80s. Like, it was a huge part of their business, or one of two huge parts of their business. And in the 80s, another company started coming in, and that company was Folgers. And that's kind of, everybody kind of knows, that's when you remember seeing the Folgers commercials, is the late 80s, early 90s, I can't even, the best part of waking up, and so what they found was that people just liked Folgers more, though. Like, there was nothing Maxwell House was really able to do to make people like their product more, except for to reformulate it, which is something they hadn't done in the past. So they brought in Howard Moskowitz to reformulate their Maxwell House product to be superior to Folgers. And while doing the research, what he ended up finding was that it wasn't just that people liked the flavor more, but there's actually 3 different types of people that drink coffee. And that there's people that like a light coffee, there's people that like kind of a medium roast coffee, and then there's people that like a dark roast coffee. So what Maxwell House did was not just reformulate their product line, but they turned around and they introduced the 3 different types of coffee. So then that gave people the appearance of choice at the grocery store on the shelf. They could say, "Oh, I'm not the type of person that needs a heavy coffee. I'm going to get the light coffee." Or, "I can get that light coffee and I know it's going to be lighter than what Folgers is that I have to water down or use less of." And so then Maxwell House kind of made a nice resurgence, and it brought them back to life somewhat. He then went from there to working for Prego, the tomato sauce company. And this is actually a story I've heard in the past, maybe explained slightly different or in a different light than it was explained here. But essentially, Prego was running into an issue that they were losing market share to Ragu. And they brought in Howard to find out, they brought him in to find out what they could do, because they were losing market share to Ragu. And he did studies, and what he found in his studies is that there was actually 3 different types of spaghetti sauce people like to have. And I can't remember the 3 specific, but one of the 3 types of spaghetti sauce that people liked or enjoyed was a chunkier tomato sauce. And at the time, neither company or no company was actually selling a chunky tomato sauce. So they took that information that they got from these studies and realized that there was a third of the population that they could hit just by creating chunky tomato sauce. So that's what they did. And they were able to reclaim kind of their hold on the tomato sauce industry until, I think, shortly after Ragu hired Howard Moskowitz to work for them. And now Ragu has, I think they said in the book at the time, and this is 2013, 36 different types of tomato sauce, And so they just give us this huge appearance of variety. So we feel like we're picking the one that is specifically made to our taste preferences. And somewhat they are, because everybody does have, or they don't necessarily have different taste preferences, but people can be grouped into different categories for different reasons. You look at the coffee, it's a different level of roast. Look at the tomato paste, the tomato sauce, it might be the different texture that makes a difference. But one of the things that happened in all of these years is that tomato sauce, when you look at the ingredient label, the second ingredient on all of them is sugar, because they have to put so much sugar in that to make it uh, something that's more people want. And that was another thing that they talked about in the book, is that the author actually sat down and interviewed with Howard Moskowitz. And it was an interesting interview because really he was just doing his job. Like, he was just creating new flavors. He wasn't putting any of that stuff in front of us. He wasn't making us buy it. He wasn't advertising it to us, so he's just a scientist, kind of. And so he did this interview, and one of the things he talked about in the interview was that he didn't have to find out what people were hungry for. He didn't have to find out what he didn't have to find a way to satisfy people's hunger, because it's very rare that people let themselves get to a point where they have a nutrient depletion and are actually needing to have certain foods. And I talked about this, months ago, about never really, not until like doing my fast and having myself go a couple days, go longer than 12 hours without eating, that I never really had felt hunger before. And what I felt before, and what he says, is that he didn't have to find out what would satisfy their hunger. He had to find what would satisfy their cravings, and what would get it in their head, what would make people, for in my case, I can remember thinking about what I was going to have for breakfast the night before, like, and whether or not, which fast food restaurant I was going to hit, because I was going to get, certain sandwiches or meals. And that was that craveability. It wasn't my hunger that I was having at 10 o'clock the night before, that because I had just gotten done eating and I wasn't holding back from eating any snacks at home. It wasn't my hunger needs that were telling me what I should stop and eat for breakfast the next morning. It was the craving. It was what my drive was sending me towards. And they've tricked us. Like, you can't trust your own instinct anymore, because we live in this world that is just designed to give us what our bodies crave. And they talk about it a lot in the Pleasure Trap book, but we evolved from generations, or all of our ancestors had to fight to eat. They had to fight for food. Like, starvation was probably the leading cause of death outside of old age, and they probably died of starvation at old age because they couldn't go around to get the food. But we don't have to starve anymore. There hasn't been people starving to death for years. If there was an epidemic of people starving to death in the United States, I think we would hear about it. And so, yeah, it's just so that's what they're trying to attack, a certain part of our biology, to get those things, but we can't trust it. We just, like, the things we can do is to just buy things that are not processed, just get rid of the processing. And the more that they process these things, the more that it scares me too. I showed that example yesterday from the veggie straws. Like, yeah, they're fewer calories than original Fritos, but it's crazy. Like, all the stuff, I'm not saying to eat either of them, but to say that the veggie straws are healthier, I don't know. Like, I just don't know what those chemicals are. And in the book, I'm throwing out all these books I've read today. But the Fiber Fueled by Dr. B, he talks about, there's thousands of these compounds that are just considered, they're called generally accepted as safe, that they're allowed to use, that they don't really know, like they're allowed to use them until it's proven that they're unsafe, and they can use them. I don't know if at any amounts, or but and that's the crazy thing they talk a little bit about with sugar. Like, I don't think there's any daily recommended allowance for sugar grams, or amount of sugar. Like, if you look at a nutrition label, it says how many calories and how many grams of sugar, but I don't think it says what the daily allowance is. And that is because these companies they don't want people to think that they need to have a limit on the amount of calories that they're intaking. Like, you can have sugar, but you got to be careful you know, what you're putting it with, and what your overall calorie intake is with that. It's they and then also, like, he talks about the amounts of sugar that they use, and it's large amounts. Like, it's teaspoon amounts of sugar, and just regular everyday things that you wouldn't think would have that much sugar. um but anyways, I'm just ranting or going on about the book. I really like it so far. I'm looking forward to listening to it some more. I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have to listen to it. We're going to be traveling this weekend, but Carrie's not going to want to listen to a book that I'm 3 hours into. So we'll probably listen to some podcasts on our travels this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to go live tomorrow. I might work out that I can go live tomorrow. Let me see. I'm definitely not going to be here Friday. 100% not going to be going live Friday, but I might be live tomorrow. If not, I will be live on Monday again. I'm just trying to see if I had any other. Talked about my diet. I guess I talked about what I had for dinner. I fasted for breakfast this morning. I've been doing that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm happy with where it puts me. I'm super happy with 6 pound loss this week, so can't beat that. So yeah, I think that's going to be everything I had today. I hope that you guys had a great week. If you weighed in today, I hope that you lost some weight. If you guys haven't already, make sure that you do subscribe to my channel. Click on the bell icon so you'll get alerted when I go live. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to grow this channel. If you guys haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There's no reason to wait. Nothing that's more important than getting your health and wellness under control. And just go all in. Just do it. Just jump in, get your diet together, get rid of the junk food, clear the pantries out. The stuff's gone. It's never coming back. Just let it go. And go hard at it for as long as you can. Get weeks and weeks under your belt. I mean, that's what I did. I was hard at it for 9-10 months, and then I kind of stumbled, and I've picking myself back up, and I'm getting back down. I mean, I did have an injury, so I'm going to use that as the main excuse. But I'm sure that I could have lost weight if I really tried over that time. So get started right now, guys. And I will see you guys maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday. Who knows? But you guys have a great evening.